We're live here on the Bullpen
Yeah.
Podcast. Just kidding. No, we are live on the Bullpen Podcast. Welcome in. I am your host, Chris Krugman, your humble host. The braggart host is Adam Kunos. He's at Kunos19 on the Twitterverse. I'm at Shy Bears 1985. And the show is at the Bullpen Pod. We are going to cover the 2023 World Baseball Classic tonight, along with some other fun MLB topics, Manager of the Year, weekend recap, weekend preview, all that fun shit. We have some Homer updates for the record approaching gentleman. But we are sponsored by Fanatics. Head on over to Fanatics to get all of your 2022 MLB postseason gear, including hats, t-shirts, bikinis, toenail clippers, Manscaped sponsored. No, I'm just kidding. I don't think they have Manscaped MLB gear on Fanatics.
I would not be surprised if they don't.
They should. They should. You should trim your pubes and look at your favorite team while you're doing it. Anyway, Adam, how are you tonight, dude?
Doing good. I mean, it was a good weekend overall. Celebrated anniversary down here in the state of Florida with my wife. 6 years married. Been together 11 years total. So, fun fact: our first movie that we saw was Moneyball. The first movie we ever went to see was Moneyball, and that is one of our greatest movies. I think baseball movies up there, just with how you can just do small ball. We love that movie. We absolutely love that movie.
It's okay. Just kidding. It's good. Brad Pitt doesn't make a whole lot of bad movies.
No.
Jonah Hill, Fat Jonah Hill.
You also had Chris Pratt in that movie.
Chris who? Chris Pratt?
Chris Pratt was in that movie. I don't know. I can't remember who he played, but he is in that movie.
Philip Seymour Hoffman?
Yep, Philip Seymour Hoffman. God rest in peace.
For sure. Yeah, that's a fun fact. I had a lot of fun learning that. So thank you for sharing. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. So, like you said, Chris, we got a good lineup tonight. We got a lot to talk about. So let's jump right into our weekend review from this past weekend. So we're going to recap this past weekend. We're going to start with Baltimore and Toronto. Chris, we both had the Blue Jays win the series 2-1, and the Blue Jays listened to us and did just that. They took the series 2-1 against Baltimore. First game 6-3, second game 6-3, and then they drop a close one 5-4 to the Baltimore O's. Blue Jays jump into the AL wildcard lead, so they are now the number one wildcard seed. They hold a 2.5 game lead over Tampa Bay. Baltimore now falls 5 games behind Seattle for that final AL wildcard spot. Baltimore's been kind of fading as of late. They haven't been playing as well as of late. They had that nice little hot streak going into the All-Star break and then shortly after the All-Star break, but now they're just starting to cool off. They're actually going for, I think a good goal for them is a winning record, try to finish above 500 this year. Chris, do you think Toronto's getting hot at the right time, and do you think they can keep this up going into the playoffs?
It's not the wrong time. I'll tell you that. Yeah. I mean, they did this at the end of last year. They're just catching a little bit earlier, and they had set the foundation that was a little bit better this year than they did last year. So definitely getting hot at the right time. Yeah, love it. Go Toronto. I have you winning more games I have you winning lots of games. So please make the playoffs. You have a 99.8% chance at this current juncture. 5% chance to win the World Series according to team rankings.
That's not a bad chance.
That's pretty good. That's not terrible. What did I want to look at? I wanted to look at team stats, offense. runs per game. Toronto fifth in the league in runs per game. Yeah, they're good. Good.
Yeah, Toronto's is good right now. The young team is now starting to catch up with everybody. So good on Toronto for getting hot at the right time. The next series, Chris, it was the rare 5-game series, the Minnesota Twins at the Cleveland Guardians. We both took Cleveland winning the series 3-2, and the Guardians up 1, going a 4-game series win over the Twinkies. They win game 1, 5-4, game 2, 5-1. Game 3 had to take a little extra time, 15 innings for a 7-6 win. The Twins do shut them out in game 4, 3-0, but then the Guardians come storming back and blow them out in game 5, 11-4. Cleveland now jumps to a 5-game lead over Chicago, and Minnesota falls below 500 for the season. They're now currently 2 games under 500. They're just kind of fading. Did we overlook Cleveland this season as a playoff contender from the get-go?
Most definitely.
I would say if you were looking at your contenders at the beginning of the year, Cleveland wasn't on the radar just with the amount of players they dumped over the offseason. They had the whole Jose Ramirez deal kind of hanging over, and they kind of inked him to a long-term deal. And that kind of seems to be working for them, as they will now be, at this point, hopefully cruising towards a AL Central title here in the next couple of days. They're currently beating the White Sox 5-0 in Chicago. And with all the hype that we gave the AL Central this year, with it being probably a 3-team race, it was a 3-team race, but I think it was just the weaker division out of all divisions this year. Both Central divisions, American League and National League, kind of had weak divisions throughout the entire year. But I'll give Cleveland a lot of credit for the team they had, the kind of the adversity they have. Everyone looking towards the White Sox as being that go-to team for the AL Central. Cleveland's looking pretty good right now, and they're, again, like Toronto, getting hot at the right time, and kind of hoping to clinch that division title here within about next week or so.
Yeah, they're solid. I mean, they're not phenomenal, right? They're not bad. They're 14 games over 500 in a fairly weak division. Yeah, I definitely overlooked them at the beginning of the year, but I don't think they scare like the Yankees or the Blue Jays or the Astros or anybody.
No, I agree. I mean, they'll get a lot of credit for getting into the playoffs, but I don't think they're gonna. I'm not gonna say they're not gonna get far though. It's gonna be a tough road for them to get through the wild card round, division series, and then league championships just to get to the World Series, because they do have to go through New York, Houston, Toronto, Tampa Bay. Some of the teams that have been there who have good teams right now. So it's a little bit of an uphill climb once they finally clinch that playoff spot. So we'll see how Cleveland does over the next couple days. And then, Chris, our last series, we had the Phillies and Braves. We both picked the Braves to win the series 2-1. Braves just went right back into Atlanta and swept the Phillies right out of Atlanta. They pretty much took care of business, swept them. The Braves trail your Mets by a game in the NL East. That division continues to be a very tight race. The Phillies are now the 3rd NL wild card. They lead the Brewers by 2 games, and they are kind of holding on for dear life right now. They're just staying above sea level in this playoff race. Are they in danger of losing that 3rd wild card seed to Milwaukee?
Obviously, it can happen. Hard to say if they're quote unquote in danger. Currently, they're on pace for about 88 wins, and Milwaukee is around 85 wins. Philadelphia should hold on, but yeah, two games is tight. I mean, that doesn't take much. You hit the wrong stride, and you could definitely miss the playoffs. The Brewers have a fairly easy stretch down the last four series, only playing St. Louis twice in there. They have Cincinnati for 4, Miami for 4, and Arizona for 3, along with St. Louis for 2. So that's not super tough. Philadelphia is going to probably play Atlanta one more time, I think. They have lost 5 in a row. 6 in a wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 in a row. After winning 5 in a row. That's funny. So they have one more with Toronto today. 4 against Atlanta, 3 against the Cubs, 4 against Washington, and then 3 against Houston to finish out the year. That's harder. That's 7 games against playoff teams, and 7 games against 2 scrappy sons of bitches that have been spoiling playoff bids for a couple teams. So yeah, I mean, I would, if I were a Phillies fan, I would be concerned just looking at this schedule straight up. And I mean, honestly, Milwaukee doesn't scare anybody, but they could definitely put it together for 15 games and pull 2 out, or gain 2 games on the Phils.
Yeah, and it's interesting something about, like, as you go into the playoffs, I would rather be hot going into the playoffs with a little bit of rest rather than backing into the playoffs on like a loss or just maybe one win where you're just playing kind of a winner will go home game at the end of the season. However, the winner go home game, you could take the momentum that you have from that game and kind of use it to your advantage going into the playoffs. Obviously, this year is going to be a little different. We're going back to the 3-game wild card series like we saw in 2020, so we won't have that winner take all wild card game. We'll get to see some more wild card playoffs. We'll get to see some teams who are these wild card bids get a chance to maybe make a run to wild card run and see if we can get further than the wild card run, maybe division series. So it'll be interesting to see going forward how these teams who are on the edge or just kind of like on the borderline of clinching, see how when they clinch and see how they play out the rest of the season, whether they rest players or if they kind of go full force going in.
Yeah, definitely.
So that's our weekend recap, Chris. So we did have a couple of good storylines this past week, but we're going to start with, we had a trio of teams clinch playoffs over this past week. We'll start with your New York Mets, Chris. They punched their ticket into the 2022 MLB playoffs, their first playoff appearance since 2016. They're obviously chasing that NL East division. The Houston Astros clinched their 5th straight AL West division, their 7th playoff season in 8 seasons. So they'll be skipping a wild card round, getting that division series started. And the Atlanta Braves, your defending World Series champ, clinched their 5th straight postseason appearance. And then again, they are going in as defending champs. We had not had a repeat winner since the Yankees did it back in 98 to 2000. So it's definitely been over 20 years since we've seen a repeat winner in Major League Baseball. I know the answer, Chris. Which team? So obviously, are you happy to see the Mets punch their ticket to the playoffs?
Of course.
A little easy because obviously you're still playing for that division, but you know that you're going to get at least a top wild card seat at the latest. You're still going to get home field advantage in the first round of the playoffs. You want to get that first round bye going into the playoffs and get that extra rest for teams because it's either going to be Atlanta or New York who gets that second NL seed and home field advantage in the division series. Houston, no shock there. They kind of ran away with the rest AL West this season, kind of from the get-go, thanks to a Seattle slow start they kind of had from day one. And then the Braves, obviously defending champs, they're just playing fantastic baseball all year round. Which clinch was more impressive?
I mean, Houston winning 5 straight AL West divisions and seventh playoff appearance in 8 seasons is pretty impressive. Obviously, the Mets not being in for 6 years is good for that team and that culture to get back into the playoffs. The Astros to me are the most impressive. The Braves. I mean, the Braves have a good young nucleus. It's not even a nucleus, man. It's almost like the entire team is young and solid. So they're going to be good for a long time with Fried and Strider at the top of that rotation. We'll see how their bullpen shakes out over the next few years. And obviously this season, but adding Iglesias and then having Jansen at the back end of that bullpen makes them super dangerous, even though that guy's windup and shit is just gross.
Yeah, and going back to Houston, so here's a fun fact. So Houston entered as an American League team back in 2013. So they've been in the American League for it'll be their 10th season in the American League going into next year. Only seasons they have not made the playoffs were 2013, 14, and 2016. Those are the only seasons they have not made the playoffs as an American League team. Nationally, they struggled for a while. They only made it a handful of times. I mean, their last NL appearance was in 2005, and they didn't go to playoffs until they got to the American League. So, I mean, good on Houston for kind of building a consistent winner, and especially when they got to the American League, it was just kind of a little shocker that they were being swapped from NL to AL at the time.
Yeah, definitely. That was weird for all of us.
So, all right. We did tease this a little. We talked about a home run chase going on. Aaron Judge is going for 61. He hit 60 against the Pirates a couple days ago. Today he's gone, I want to say 2 for 4 with 2 doubles, a strikeout. So doesn't look like he'll get 61 tonight. But an interesting fact, when Roger Maris hit 61, he did it against the Red Sox in Yankee Stadium. And the Yankees and Red Sox will be facing off, I believe, in New York this weekend. So how fitting would it be for Aaron Judge to break Roger Maris's record against the same team that Maris hit 61 against? Is it ironic? Is it?
It's baseball kismet. It's always shit like that always happens. I mean, meant to be.
It meant to be, and Judge is leading the Triple Crown category: runs, average, home runs, hit, and I believe hits. So he's now going Triple Crown territory right now. This is the way he's been playing. So,
is he leading in average?
I believe he is leading in average. Let me pull that up real quick. Yeah, he has average, homers, and RBIs. He has a 318 average. 317. Bogarts has a 315, so he just leaves Bogarts by 2 percentage points for best AL batting average. Obviously, 60 home runs. Next closest to him is Alvarez out of Houston with 37, so he's going to win the home run title just in a landslide. RBIs, Jose Ramirez out of Cleveland has 115. Aaron Judge has 128, so Aaron could still hold on to that RBI title. So you never know. I mean, with the home run record and maybe a triple crown in his future, this is definitely going to be a season to remember for Aaron Judge, and one that maybe it's been a long time coming just with the amount of injuries he's had to deal with over the last couple of years.
Yeah, he's incredible. I mean, good for him for putting up these kind of numbers after being hurt. He's phenomenally talented. So good to see good baseball players hit good numbers, and he bet on himself, turning down a pretty lucrative extension, especially after being hurt. Taking away that guaranteed money, and then being able to stay healthy this year and hit like crazy. And he plays good defense too.
Yeah, definitely going to be consideration for Gold Glover, definitely a Silver Slugger, obviously MVP contender. Should be running away with the MVP at the end of the season when we get these awards handed out. So, but we will keep you guys posted. Turn to our Twitter page later this week for all updates. Aaron Judge, when he hits 61, we will let you know. So just follow our Twitter page for more updates.
What's the other? Where's our boy Albert at?
Albert is still 2 away from 700. I believe he's sitting at 698. Let me pull that up real quick. And I believe everyone is cheering for Pujols to get to 700. I mean, he's having a phenomenal final season in St. Louis, and I believe that he will retire at the end of the season, as he should. He's had a great career, 2-time World Series champion with the Cardinals, played 10 years in LA as well. I mean, he will definitely be a Hall of Famer. I don't think he'll be a clean sweep Hall of Fame, but I think he'll get a good amount of votes when it comes to the Hall of Fame voting when his time comes after he does hang the cleats up.
He should be a Hall of Famer.
Oh yeah. Do you think it'll be a first time?
I mean, he should be a first ballot, but who knows? Baseball writers are stupid.
I know. I mean, I wouldn't mind getting a Hall of Fame vote here once in a while. It's like, I'll cast a vote.
Why would they let you cast a vote?
I can only hope.
So you have no reason why. You just hope.
Nope. No, because I would. Hey, I can hope. I have dreams.
What?
Stop crushing my dreams.
You're providing zero reason as to why.
I know. I am,
have you written one piece of paper about baseball?
Probably not. So I'm gonna go with no.
Do you have any published works on baseball? Any bylines on baseball?
Besides what I post on Twitter, absolutely not.
How many Twitter posts do you have?
I've lost count of how many Twitter posts I've had about baseball. They're mostly puking about how the White Sox have played over the season.
So do you think somebody would give up their vote because of all of your White Sox puke Twitter posts?
Hey, crazier shit has happened. So
that's just not true. In this specific genre, that's far from true. No, nobody's going to give you their Hall of Fame vote because you tweet stupid shit on Twitter.
Fair enough.
I tweet stupid shit on Twitter. Let me see here. I have some absurd amount of tweets. It makes me sick when I look at this shit. What am I doing with my life that I have this many tweets? Where is my profile? There we go. I have tweeted Where'd it go? Where do I see this? Just way too many times. Just way too many times. Oh, 37,000 times.
Ooh.
That's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, I've been on Twitter for I think almost 10 years. So that's only like 10 times a day.
Yeah.
You you have like a third of that many. You have 11,000 tweets. But if they're all about the White Sox, whew, man, that's dedication.
That is dedication. So enough about my hoping to get a Hall of Fame vote and the White Sox. Let's talk about the World Baseball Classic, Chris. So we had round one of qualifiers over in Germany that started on September 16th and just wrapped up today. So we had South Africa, Spain, France, Germany, Great Britain, and the Czech Republic all playing for 2 spots in the World Baseball Classic. And we got Great Britain and the Czech Republic who are making their first appearance in the World Baseball Classic next March. They advanced to pool play for the 2023 World Baseball Classic. Next up, we got the Panama qualifier that will start on September 30th and run through October 5th. New Zealand, Brazil, Pakistan, Argentina, Nicaragua, and Panama will be the 6 teams playing for the final 2 spots in the 2023 World Baseball Classic, which will kick off on March 8th and run through the 21st. The host cities will be Taichung in Chinese Taipei, Tokyo, Japan, Miami, Florida, and Phoenix, Arizona. Miami will host the semi and finals. So a little past history, Japan won your first 2 WBCs in 2006 and 2009. Daisuke Makazaka was your WBC MVP both years. The Dominican Republic won it in 2013. Robinson Cano was your MVP. And then the United States are your defending World Baseball Classic champions. And Marcus Stroman was your MVP back in 2017, which seems like ages ago at this point. Personally, I'm excited for the World Baseball Classic. I love this tournament. I've watched every tournament since the beginning in 2006. It's actually exciting. I'll actually be in England during around Thanksgiving, so I'll kind of get to see if they're excited for the World Baseball Classic as well. Chris, what are your thoughts?
Wait, when are you going to be there?
Around Thanksgiving.
They will give 0 fucks, dude. The World Cup is happening around that time. They will give no shit.
Oh, that's right. World Cup is going to be. Hey, you know what? Get to watch the World Cup in England. I'm down with that.
Yeah, that'll be fun.
That will be fun.
Protect yourself.
Yeah, no USA chance I'll get us in trouble. Chris, what are your thoughts on the World Baseball Classic? Are you going to be watching, or have you watched any of the Classic games?
I'll be glued to my TV. Cannot wait. Man, these things are covered so poorly, I feel like. So I'll try to catch as much of it as I can, but being in March, I mean, it's right before baseball season starts, so I think it's a good precursor to the baseball season. And there's only one major thing going on right then in the middle of March Madness. So, yeah, check it out.
Yeah, I agree with you that I know the first couple classics weren't televised a lot. I mean, I know MLB Network will probably have the exclusive broadcasting rights to the games, but I know ESPN was running a couple games of your first and second round play. They're doing all the Japan and games out in Asia. They're playing at 4:00 in the morning. I agree. They need to broadcast this thing or advertise this thing a little better. I mean, you're competing. This is going to be playing right after the World Cup that's going on around Thanksgiving. You got the FIBA basketball tournament going on as well. It's just not as popular, I think, as they would like to see it. It's not World Cup quality viewers that they're going to be getting. Obviously, when you watch some of these international games, just the fans in the stands are a different type of fans. I mean, they're doing chants throughout the entire stadium. They got flags. They got whole stadium chants going on. I mean, it's a fun atmosphere when you watch international baseball just because the fans are, I believe, are more into the game than fans that are watching Major League Baseball games.
Probably. I mean, international fans are typically for any sport are a little bit more involved in their sports in other countries, not just baseball, are like full blown events where people get into it. So
yeah,
you definitely see that in the World Baseball Classic as well.
Yeah, so I had an opportunity to go to the Olympics '96, and we ended up going to 3 baseball games at Fulton County Stadium where we saw Italy versus Japan, we saw Australia versus the United States, and I believe United States versus Italy. The international game that we saw, I mean, we saw Japanese fans who were just chanting every time the team took the field. They were on their feet cheering for them every time they got a hit. I mean, it is a different atmosphere when you watch an international game versus a major league game. So I personally am looking forward to it. I cannot wait for this tournament to kick off. I'm hopefully going to be able to catch a little more of the qualifier round at the end of the month. So I know they're going to be streaming those games on MLB.com. If you go to the World Baseball Classic link, we will tweet out a link on where you can watch games once we get closer to the qualifier. Moving forward, we covered MVP. We covered Cy Young predictions. Let's talk manager of the year. So I got a list of 4 managers for each league who I think are going to be in consideration for manager of the year. We'll start with the American League. I got Brandon Hyde from Baltimore, Terry Francona out of Cleveland, Scott Servais out of Seattle, and Aaron Boone out of the Bronx. We'll start with Hyde. He's looking to clinch Baltimore their first winning season since 2016. Francona is looking to lead Cleveland to their first division title since 2018. Servais is looking to get Seattle into the playoffs for the first time since 2001. And Aaron Boone is looking to lead the Yanks to their first AL East title since 2019. Looking at the 4 names that we got here, I would lead more Scott Servais and kind of breaking that playoff drought for Seattle as my leading candidate for AL Manager of the Year. Obviously, Terry Francona and what he's done with the Guardians this year could be in holding consideration. Chris, who would be your favorite, and is there someone that I missed from the American League managers?
I mean, maybe Dusty, but feels like they're just there all the time, so it's not a big deal. My favorite, who would I like? Like, I don't know. I think what Francona's doing in Cleveland is pretty amazing. Agree, along with Hyde and Servais. The Yankees, if they hadn't hit that lull in the middle of the year, I think Boone would run away with it. But right now, I'd probably give it to Francona.
Yeah, I think Francona would be a good safe bet just with what he's done with Cleveland and just without overlooked that team was at the beginning of the year. A lot of them weren't picked to finish above 500. A couple experts did have them above 500, but I think Francona would be a good lock for your Manager of the Year award. Flipping it over to the National League, we got Brian Stinkler from Atlanta, Buck Showalter out of New York, Dave Roberts out of Los Angeles, and Bob Melvin out of San Diego. Sniker is looking to repeat as World Series champions for the Braves. Showalter got the Mets to the playoffs, now looking to get their first NL East since 2015. Dave Roberts, since he took over for the manager in LA, 6 division titles, 3 NL pennants, 1 World Series championship. So he's just pretty much been cooking LA. He's made the playoffs every year since he's been in LA. Bob Melvin, who's a previous winner of Manager of the Year 3 times, once in Arizona in 2007, twice in Oakland in 2012 and 2018. Does have San Diego playing good. They kind of avoided that season collapse. I'm not giving that any look because the season's not over yet. Who do you think is your clear NL frontrunner? Because I'm looking at these names and I think they all have a fair shot of getting NL Manager of the Year, in my opinion.
Showalter.
I can see Showalter not managing for. He's coming back into the managing field after being out for a while and just kind of getting that team clicking from day one.
What do you think about I had his name. Oliver Marmol from the Cardinals.
Ooh, that's a good one. I would actually throw his name in consideration just with how well the Cardinals played. They start off slow, but then they just started playing good. They when they overtook Milwaukee for the NL Central lead, they really never gave up that lead, and they just kind of definitely put some distance between themselves and Milwaukee. That's a good one. I didn't think of that one. I would say him and Showalter would probably be your top two, in my opinion, for NL Manager of the Year. So that's a good one. I can't believe I missed that one. I cannot believe I missed that one. So
that's okay. That's why there's two of us.
That is why there's two of us. One, you correct everything that I missed, and vice versa.
That's not true. That's not no. This is always an interesting one, this award, because there's a lot that goes into it. And just because you're like the top team in the division or the top team in the league doesn't mean that's that you're the manager of the year. I mean, I think for me it's doing more with less. And not that the Mets have done more with less, but you're coming into a situation as the first year manager, adding a lot of personalities into a clubhouse that collapsed last year, managing around a lot of injuries. And obviously I pay more attention to the Mets than I do any other team. So other managers could have easily done this as well. Snedker, bringing up two young players, working them into the lineup and actually making the team better is amazing. So it's like I said, it's tough to judge this award for me because there's so many variables and the Diamondbacks manager's been good. The like Brandon Hyde for the Orioles has been good. So there's no, I don't know. To me, there's no clear cut easy way to determine manager of the year.
Yeah, I think I agree with you because I'm thinking back to the last couple of years, and I remember in 2020, Ricky Renteria was a manager of the year candidate, and he was fired after the 2020 season with the White Sox. So, I mean, I think this one you can't really pick because there's so much that goes into, I think, picking this award. Like, do you get into the playoffs? Did you play higher than expectations? Like, how deep did you go into the playoffs? Like, I think there's a lot to consider when you think about manager of the year and just overall picking the winner. So I think it's gonna be an interesting race when we get down to when they announce the finalists and who they have as a finalist for manager of the year, and we'll go back and kind of break down what the team did over the season and were they expected to get where they were, or did they break expectations and do better than what we thought? So
right.
So we covered manager of the year, the WBC judge trio of clinchers. That kind of segues right into the last part of the show, Chris, which is our weekend preview. So going through these series, there were not a lot of series that I think you kind of have some repeat series that we talked about last week that are going to be coming in. The first one, obviously, is Braves Phillies. Both teams are playing for a playoff positioning. Braves are obviously chasing the Mets for the NL East. Phillies are trying to keep their playoff hopes alive. Philadelphia is 2 games ahead of Milwaukee for the final NL wildcard spot. So they will be hosting the Braves. The Braves will go with Odorizzi, Wright, and Morton. And the Phillies will counter with Noah, Falter, and Gibson. Wright's looking for win number 20, so that's a game to kind of keep an eye on. He can end up being one of your first 20-game winners of the season. I'm going to go with the safe pick I made last week. I think it's going to be Atlanta 2-1 again. I'll give Philadelphia the final game, but I think Atlanta takes the first 2 games, especially with Odorizzi and White. Odorizzi, for me, has been pitching better as of late, and Wright's just been flat out nasty all season. So, Cy Young candidate. So, I'm going to go Atlanta 2-1 for this series.
Yeah, I think the Braves probably sweep them again. Braves are just not losing ever. It's ridiculous. Right. If they play like this in the playoffs, nobody's going to beat them.
No, and actually just thinking about that, I mean, and we kind of touched on that, you keep that momentum going. I mean, you go in winning maybe 4 or 5 straight. But it is going to be a little different when you get that rest in between the wild card series. If you do get that bye into the division series, how much work do you put in during the wild card series? How many workouts do you give the team? Do you give the team more time off to rest? Do you bring them in for light batting practice, light fielding drills? Just how do you keep them fresh during that series before you take the field again? So. But yeah, I agree. Atlanta, if they're playing this hot in the playoffs, I think they're unbeatable.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we could see them get back into the World Series again.
For sure.
Series number 2, we got the Cardinals and Dodgers. This could be a NL Division Series preview, depending on how the Cardinals fare when the Cardinals get in and if they get out the wild card round. LA has yet to determine their starting pitching, but the Cardinals are going with Jose Quintana, Montgomery, and Adam Wainwright out in LA. Dodgers have clinched the NL West. They're now looking to clinch home field advantage throughout the playoffs. The Cardinals are 6 wins / Brewer losses away from clinching the NL Central. For me, this is a tough series because the Cardinals have been playing well, but it's just LA has just been, even after clinching, they're just not laying off the gas. They're just pounding away and just they're not letting up. So, but I'm going to go with the upset. I'll give St. Louis a 2-1 series win over this one.
Oh,
I'll play a little devil's advocate.
Yeah. Yeah, Dodgers 2-1. It's in LA. Final series, Bo Sox, Yankees, historical matchup. Yankees number to clinch the East is 10. Game 1 features Rich Hill, Dick Mountain versus Garrett Cole. Game 2, Nick Pavetta versus what's that dude's name? Something German. And then Game 3 is Belo Cortez. Man, pitching matchups does not favor Boston, but I think they squeak one out somewhere in here. Yankees 2-1 would be my prediction.
Yeah, so obviously, I mean, you're talking historic matchup. Anytime you get the Yankees and Red Sox, it's always a historic matchup. These teams just kind of beat each other up all season, and it's always fun when you get this series at the end of the season when you got both these teams that are just in a playoff chase. Obviously, the Red Sox are playing well below expectations this year. They're in the bottom of the AL East with Hill, Pavetta, and Bello for Boston. That does not favor them going against Cole, Jermaine, and Cortez. Yeah, I'll go with you on this one, Chris. I'll go Yankees 2-1. And I believe we will see Aaron Judge eclipse Roger Maris against the Red Sox. I think he'll get at least 2 home runs against the Bo Sox and break the AL/Yankee home run record. Because you know that Red Sox pitchers are going to be pitching him very carefully.
Right. So the Yankees have what left? They have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 games left, and he's at 60. Could he hit 14 homers in 15 games and break the single season record?
Ooh, 73.
It'd be a ridiculous tear. I don't know if he's going to be able to do that at the end of the season. So I'm going to say no, but obviously I was wrong. I was not wrong on Pujols yet, but I mean, I think I probably spit a number out like 696 or something, but I think Judge probably ends at like 66 or 67.
Yeah, I think he'll end up kind of in the mid-60 ranges for home runs. I don't think he'll get to 70. I mean, it would be kind of nice to see him go on this absolute tear and eclipse Barry Bonds of that single season home run record. But you're talking MLB show ratings, like pitching down rookie, fastballs down the middle of the plate, and he says click on all cylinders for the next 2.5 weeks.
Right.
So I agree. I'll go a little lower. I'll say he'll get to 64 for the end of the season.
Okay. It's a good number still.
Yeah, I mean, the last time we saw a 60 home run season was back in 2001 when Barry Bonds had 73 and Sosa had 64. So that was the last time we saw something like that happen. To see it again. And Aaron Judge, I mean, good on him for doing it. Great storyline for him this season.
For sure.
So, well, that brings us to the end of our show for this evening. Chris, do you have anything that you would like to say before we wrap it up?
No, man. 2 weeks left. We're almost there. We're almost to playoff time. 162 of these things. Not shows, games.
Oh, God. I mean, I think we'll be getting actually to show 50 here very shortly.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so we got show 50 coming up probably during the playoffs is when we'll hit our 50th show for the podcast. So
look out for that.
I know, look out for that. But To all of you that are listening or are listening after we post, thank you very much for tuning into another episode of the Bullpen Podcast. Again, I am your host, Adam Kunos, my co-host, Chris Krogman. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter. Follow the show on Twitter at the Bullpen Podcast, and we will talk to you guys later.
See you, folks.